Hello everyone and welcome to the first video in the first section of the course. And in this video what we're going to be looking at is basically what the deep web is and what are the differences between the deep web, the dark net and the clear web. So let's get started. So basically the deep web, or it's also known as the invisible web or the hidden web, are parts of the World Wide Web whose contents are not indexed by standard search engines or cannot be indexed by web crawlers. So that means that you can't really find this information using the standard search engines, and it is estimated that the deep web makes up 96% of the entire internet, and that's really a lot when you come to scale how big the surface web really is. Now let me explain the differences with the help of this image right here. Very nice image that'll hopefully explain everything clearly. So before we go into the differences, let's actually look at a very key thing here. Now the term deep web and dark web are often interchanged with each other, but they are not the same thing. The deep web simply refers to anything on the deep web that can't be found using a search engine. And as you can see from this image right here, let's start explaining what the differences really are. So the surface web is every website that you use on a daily basis. For example, you can be using YouTube, Google, etc., etc. These are basically sites that can be accessed through a link. For example, if I search, for example, the name of a video on Google, the title of YouTube, the YouTube video will actually show up right there, and that means that it can be indexed through a search engine or can be accessed through web crawlers. Now the deep web contains information or things that are private, and anything that has security or authentication in order to access it. For example, we have emails, Dropbox, social media, and information that cannot be accessed with web crawlers or search engines. Now let me explain what this means. If I went to Google and I searched for the title of an email with the recipient name, I guarantee it's not going to come out, and that's because it's not going to come up, and that's because it cannot index emails because it requires a certain level of authentication. And this is what I wanted to explain to you. Many people, we want to basically access the deep web, and they really don't understand that the deep web is also part of the clear web, but slightly different. Now the dark web contains things that are purposely hidden, not necessarily for security reasons, and requires special software to access it, which we'll be discussing later in this course. And the example of that is Tor. We need the Tor browser to access the darknet, because those are basically sites that are purposely hidden so that basically you can't index them with a search engine on the deep web and the surface web. So that's basically it. We basically interchange these two terms together, but in essence they are all the same because they cannot be indexed through a search engine. Alright, so that's basically it for the first video. Hope you guys found this welcome to the second video in the first section. And in this video we're going to be looking at the common misconceptions and myths regarding the deep web or the dark net or dark web. So let's get started. So basically one of the most common myths that you'll find is that the deep web is illegal to access and that you may get arrested or the FBI may come and knock at your door. Now, well, that is a very unique type of claim, especially since accessing the deep web is legal and the software used to access the deep web or the dark net, which is the Tor browser, is actually free and it's legal to use. The only thing is that the police are trying to track down, or the FBI or any law enforcement agency are tracking down people who are doing malicious things on the deep web. They're not targeting everyone accessing the deep web. So really that's a very easy myth to bust. And you might find that in some countries that have certain level of censorship on the internet, for example North Korea, those type of countries will not have access to even the clear net or the the normal internet, and that's really much more focused on countries that do not allow internet at all. Now, the second myth is that it is dangerous to access, in the sense that it's more risky, and there's a higher chance that your system will be infected. And that's not true at all, because statistics prove that the clear web has more threats in terms of threatening your computer or your identity, in the sense that there's so much malware on the clear web in forms of downloads, torrents, and the works really. So the third one is that you will be targeted or hacked, and that the risk of you being hacked is very high. Now, the deep web, as I said, every part of the internet has its advantages and disadvantages. Now, the deep web is only dangerous on certain malicious websites, certain sites that you may visit if you have the wrong intent. And as I've mentioned before, it's all about the sites that you visit. If you visit a dangerous site, then the risk of you being hacked gets higher. So it really is up to you and whether or not you want to get hacked. Now, the fourth one, which is also quite a very important one, is it's only for criminals. Now, the deep web is used by more than 2 million people every day. And almost all of these people use it for communication and anonymity. For example, it's used by journalists who want to basically post stories or post whatever information that they have anonymously. So really, the deep web is used for good. It's not like it's not. Now, I think this is one of the most interesting ones. It's the fifth one, and that the fact that red rooms are real, or red rooms exist. Now, if you guys don't know what red rooms are basically websites that will provide a live stream to a murder of a human being. Now, that may seem very vile, but there's no evidence to say that these red rooms exist. And I'm going to explain to you why they can't exist, technically speaking. So that the basic thing is that if you're going to live stream on the Tor relay, there's no way you're going to be able to do that, because the Tor relay has very slow internet connection speed, which we will see in the future videos. But basically, the speed is so slow because the traffic is routed through the Tor relays. So you really can't live stream. Even at the lowest quality of video, it will be unplayable or unwatchable. So for that reason, red rooms aren't real, and there isn't evidence to support that. So the last one is that most of the sites are basically scary or malicious in nature. And that is absolutely not true, because if you look at the deep web through statistical analysis, you will see that about 60% of the websites on the deep web through an audit are more information-driven websites. For example, 20% of the sites are blogs and forums. 40% of the sites have basically information and are carrying information on them. The other sites that we see, the malicious sites that, for example, are selling drugs and or counterfeiting money and legal documents, those are very few. I think about 3% of the time you will find them, and most of them aren't really malicious and are just fakes created by people to rob you of your money. So that's basically it for this video, guys.